Welcome to Ignite Your Confidence for women in leadership who want to speak up and stand out. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Here you'll get all of the tips and tools that you need to stand out with unshakable confidence. Let's dive into today's episode. Well, welcome to today's episode, which is so fun because it's unique that I have two guests. As a matter of fact, I think this is my first podcast with two people on. So I am thrilled to introduce Rica and Amy to you. And Amy, why don't you jump in and tell us about yourself?
Thank you so very much for having me. And hi, Rica. How are you today?
Yeah, hi, Amy.
I am Amy Valdivia, mom, wife, businesswoman. I've been in my mortgage industry for over 32 years. And considering I'm only 21, I don't know how that math works. However, I've been in the business for quite a long time. And my mission in life is the education of my children to make sure that they are productive members of society. We want to make sure we teach them how to be resourceful. I got into the business quite a long time ago in college and worked my way up. I've done all sorts of jobs in the mortgage industry, and 2017 realized it's time to completely go off into my own and transferred from that safety net of a paycheck to commission only. And here I am, loving every minute of it. Thank you.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. Rica, let's hear from you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rica Ruiz, and I am the founder of Meraki Real Estate. I am also a wife and a mom and a business owner. And the reason I got into real estate originally was because I wanted to be in a profession where I was home for my son. I was raised by a single mom, and she really wasn't able to attend a lot of events that I was a part of. So I wanted to make sure that I was in a profession that allowed me to have that flexibility. And interestingly enough, as I've learned a lot about who I am, and I've grown a lot in the business of real estate. And going out on my own, what's fabulous and fascinating to me is when you're in sales, 100% commission, the level of the playing field is completely leveled out. Whether you're a man, a woman, black or white, if you're good at what you do, sky's the limit as far as what you can make. So that excites me because it allows me to give my son a life that I never had. And to do more for the community. And we were big proponents of giving back to the community. So love that aspect of it as well.
I love it. We've got such powerhouses here in this room. So we can read both of your bios, let's say, and see all of the successes that you've had. But I want to speak to the heart of the woman that's listening right now and perhaps isn't as comfortable with claiming her worth or owning her value. And so can either of you speak to that? Has there been a time in your life where you didn't, let's say, speak up when you wanted to, or you didn't own or claim your worth? I'd love to hear from you because I know you both have stories around this.
You want to take it first, Rica?
Go ahead, Amy.
Okay. I thought about this question and thought of numerous times in my life that came up. And if my business coach was listening, she would chuckle because when I thought about that, I thought, well, where else does this show up in your life? And that's something that we brought up multiple times in our conversation. And I think, wow, how this has been a recurring theme that has come up in different arenas. Mm-hmm. Since we're talking business, I will recall one specific time. I said prior to 2017, I was truly in operations in the mortgage industry. I've done processing. I'm an underwriter. I'm a certified FHA underwriter. I trained people. I'm certified in so many different arenas for my industry on the operations side. I've actually run the operation, EVP of this and VP of that, and et cetera, et cetera. Getting there, that's the key point. It's your worth, right? That's what we're talking about. And I remember sitting in a job interview, and I was fortunate enough over the course of my career where I was sought out often. And as an operations person, you're not out in the field networking a whole heck of a lot. So truly your networking is in-house, the people that you work with that go off to other companies that want to recruit you to take you with them. I was fortunate enough where I had multiple job opportunities over the years. And I remember sitting in a job interview to run the branch for this company. And this branch manager, he was a powerhouse. I mean, he put up big numbers, him and his team. And I said, I'm the best number 2 man you could ever have.
Wow.
Wow.
You said that.
Best. I said it out loud. And after I said it, I remember sitting back. There was a moment of pride thinking, I'm that person behind the man. And then I got home and I thought, what the heck was I thinking? My goodness. As soon as I said that, I know in my mind, the dollar amount that I walked in thinking I was going to ask for, I internalized and changed that dollar amount. I instantly dropped that dollar amount. I did not step up and really own my worth. Mm-hmm. I allowed him to just say, this is what I want to pay you, which was, of course, on the lower end. Mm-hmm. And I didn't fight for more. Mm-hmm. I turned it around and I said, I remember talking about showing him that I could earn more. Oh no, you want me to work for you? You want me to come run your branch? You want me to be the leader of the backbone of your branch to facilitate your loans after you originate them? You need me and my crew. And I allowed him to discount my value. Mm-hmm. I allowed him to discount the amount he was going to pay me. And I thought, wow, that's just that. When we talked about what we were going to speak of today, I thought that's a big turning point. That's something that still sticks with me. Never again. I will not allow that to happen again. Oh no.
Wow. What do you think it was in you that caused you to not speak up, to lower your number?
I've done a lot of work, internal work over the years, and a lot of training. I have learned where it showed up in my personal life when I was growing up. And I know that that day occurred multiple times prior in my childhood and in my upbringing. And it was truly because there were 3 of us cousins, all about the same age group. And I was continually told how great I was and what a good kid I was and my wonderful contributions to the family. However, there was always that but. The other 2, we needed to prop them up because they needed some help. So we know you're so good, but go ahead and sit in the back seat because these 2 need a little extra TLC.
Oh, wow. Wow.
When you're conditioned in your youth that way, you begin to believe it. And where else does it show up in your life? Mm-hmm. There are different times. Like I said, I thought, boy, this really has come up multiple times in my life. There are different times in my life that has manifested. And this one particular job interview cost me some money, a lot of money.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And it's so relatable. It's so relatable, these things that happen to us. And I love that you went to do that. You did the hard work. You went to town, you wanted to figure out what the root cause was and how these things, the way that we're socially conditioned or in our upbringing, make such a massive, they show up everywhere, don't they? Until you really figure it out and go, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm making different choices. What do you think, Rica?
Well, it's interesting because this topic, when Karen asked me, I was like, oh my gosh. And even my husband laughed because it's something Karen announced us that we're powerhouses, and I don't really look at myself that way. It's something I still am challenged with from time to time. And interestingly enough, Tiger Woods was just inducted to the PGA Hall of Fame, and he talked about his father Earl, who and a lot of what he shared in his story resonated with me. As a person of color, he was told, you're going to have to work harder. And it's just the reality. I'm not wanting to bring race in this. It is just the reality. And as a woman of color, it's even that much more. And my mom was a single mom. So what Earl had told Tiger was work hard, fight easy. And I was struck by that. And I sat with that for a really long time. I didn't have a father growing up, first of all. So I didn't have anybody wise to give me, some sage advice as I matured in life. And what I was modeled, though, was work hard, fight harder. And it made my life harder. Mm. So, in thinking about what your worth is, work hard at whatever your craft is, master that craft.
Yeah.
And when you have to fight, be it for a job interview, a contract, you can fight easy because the hard work you put in is going to show up, and you're going to be able to communicate your worth. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but that's something that's really been resonating with me because I do struggle. I'm very black and white, which frustrates my husband. He's like, the world is not black and white. I'm like, well, it should be. So I think we have to be flexible too. We have to be really cautious on communicating our worth and not having it hurt our feelings, because what we do doesn't equate to who we are and the value that we have. And I think as women, we put a lot of what we do as moms, as wives, as contributors financially to the household as our worth, and that's not our worth. Mm-hmm. So I think separating those two is something I continue to work on, and just want to encourage everybody just to work hard, fight easy.
Yeah. And so I love that, because so many of us have been conditioned for the worth that we put out is based on the work that we do, right, not as ourselves. And I'd love to have you expand on that a little bit more, Rica. Like, what can you talk a little bit more to that? Because I know you have a lot of insights on your own personal journey related to that.
Well, I think also too, there are instances, because I think the reality is where we live. I mean, we've seen, it's been all over the news, social injustice, racial injustice. It's prevalent, it exists. We're not gonna, sweep it under the rug. But for people of color, we know that's what we have to work with. We're gonna have to work harder. I get it. I'm not, that's the life we live, and I understand that. So sometimes too, even just walking through the door and somebody seeing me, or even seeing my name, Rica Ruiz, I actually had thought about that after this. Like I had an innocuous maiden name before this, and I think it would have served me well, probably better in a business world, being a business owner, than my married name. It might sound crazy, but it's the reality of the world we live in. And when I talk about worth and flexing on that, I had a coach where, in real estate, commission's negotiable. Yet what separates one realtor from another is the value that they bring. And I work very hard to put an additional value into what I deliver to my clients. And I wasn't really embracing that, more than kind of fighting for, this is who I am. I'm trustworthy. I'm this, I'm that. I'm going to do a good job. You have to separate who you are intrinsically. And my value, my worth is in who God sees me as an individual. Mm-hmm. Separate that from the skill, the talent, and the ability I bring as a realtor. Even the skill, the talent, ability as I bring as a mom. There are different skills and abilities we bring in different roles that we live in our lives. That's the value that we bring versus the value of who we are as individuals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've had to decouple that, because sometimes I'll go into a presentation to get a listing, and I don't decouple those things, and I don't get the listing. I'm like, oh my gosh, they think I'm a terrible person. That's not it. It's two totally different things. I just didn't do a good job of communicating the value of what I bring for the job that they're looking for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely, I can connect with that a lot from my childhood, specifically around that the more we did, like we couldn't rest at my house. It was you have to produce. And I can still remember my husband Chris saying once when I was touting some of my accolades or something like that before we got married, and I remember him saying, you know that I think it's great that you have a career, he says, but that's not why I love you. And I remember that was sort of this weird moment of, what? Really?
Yeah.
Like you just love me for who I am? And I think that's such a powerful reminder for women to, and for men too. I mean, anybody, is to know that there is a difference there, that it's, and that goes back to, I think that's also why salespeople can be powerful. Salespeople can be so good when they get potential rejections. And I say potential because it's all about how we perceive that. Right. If someone says no, it doesn't mean they're rejecting us. They're just not interested, or who knows, a ton of other things. I can sense, Amy, you want to share.
There's no failure. That's only feedback. That's all it is. Ooh. You know, one of the things as we're talking, I'm thinking about the fact that just think about how we introduce ourselves. And in the past, it was, I'm Amy Valdivia of whatever mortgage company, blah, blah, blah. And I talked all about me and my career. No, I'm God loving, I'm a wife, and I'm a mom. Those are my priorities. Then I happen to be a businesswoman for my career. And what in my journey, one of the things that I realized, it's okay to wear multiple hats, to decompartmentalize, separate absolutely my roles. And I'm very comfortable in that. I know that when we're out in the business community and my husband comes along for a networking event, he looks, okay, there she goes. She's off. You know, I put me in a room to network, and I call it fluttering. I'm going to flutter, and I'll catch up with you around the corner. Give me 15 minutes and I'll see it at the door or something. You know, he just knows. And he knows when I'm on, I'm on. Now, but when I go home, there are times where we're camping or we're with friends and I'm actually quiet. This girl actually has nothing to say. And I'm very comfortable in that role. Take the lead. You it's your world today, you know, and I realized that it's okay. I don't always have to come with my resume, to your point earlier, right? I don't always have to prove who I am. I know who I am. And my journey has led me, going back as we're talking, I'm thinking about so many times in my childhood, and Mrs. Hornbrook, who made me retake the reading and math test in the 4th or 5th grade, because how could a Mexican make the highest level of reading and the highest math group? How could I? She made Oscar Duenas. This boy's name will be forever in my memory. Mrs. Hornbrook made Amy Marquez, that was my maiden name, and Oscar Duenas retake our reading and math test, placement test, had us in the room by ourselves, completely separated at two ends of the classroom, because she couldn't understand how 2 Mexican kids could make the top reading and math group. Because why? Because all of the other kids, coincidentally, that of color, didn't make that level. They were struggling. And all of a sudden, there's the 2 of us. Well, my mom, she actually went straight to the principal's office. What are you doing? You cannot, this is unacceptable, on and on and on. And she advocated for me. However, in the end, she turned around and said, test her again. Go ahead. She'll prove it. Wow. And sure enough, Oscar's family did the same thing. And we proved it. However, that's another imprint. Yeah. Proving yourself, right? Yeah. Having to work, having to prove yourself, work harder, show it again and again and again. There's a moment where you say, it's not right, but I will accept it, that I have to be tested again. I get to take the test all over again. I get to be pushed, or I have to prove myself once again, because this is just how they look at me. This is how they envision me, because how can I actually accomplish these things? And so there's a point in your life where you get to release that. When you do that inner work, you get to release that and say no. And I'm recalling this one day in my trainings and in my coaching. I remember looking at my coach saying, "It's my turn." And we looked at each other eye to eye. She said, "Yep, today's the day." And, step forward. I stepped forward toward her, and it was so empowering for me.
Wow.
That moment that you realize, wait a minute, that's the past, and that's not my identity. I know who I am. I know who my priorities are. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing for a career. There's a mission behind my career. Of course, in the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry, right, Rika? I mean, we want to champion home ownership. We want to help people love and actually be in their first home, right size, upsize, whatever. We all have that same spiel, correct? However, what's our true why behind that? I'm in a career, I'm a businesswoman because my children will know how to be resourceful. They will know how to be productive members of society. They can do whatever they choose. They don't have to do it my way. They don't have to do it Dad's way, as long as they do it, whatever that is. And that's my mission. I'm very, very comfortable. I finally gained that confidence to be able to say, this is why. This is why I do it.
That's so good. Yeah. What is your why, Rika? That's compelling.
Well, actually, thank you for asking. Last year, we gave away more money than we've ever given away in 1 year to 10 different nonprofits.
Wow.
And that was super motivating. And a couple of reasons, our CPA and our financial planner both said, you guys are giving away too much money. You should do this, you should do that. And I thought, no, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do, right? We have the privilege of having more than my parents ever had to be able to give back. And so our motivation is, let's sell more houses, help people get what they want and get their dreams. And then at the same time, we want to give away even more money this year. So our goal, our big dream is to give away $1 million in 1 year.
Ooh,
so
that's exciting.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So super, super excited, and think about how many lives we can help change and improve, and different organizations that we have a heart for. So
that's fantastic. Well, I'm sitting here thinking about the woman listening to this that's going, oh, it's great that you two have found your voice and you have successful businesses. What would you say to someone who isn't there yet? How would you encourage her?
I would tell her to, this is what one of my coaches said to me, sit down and write everything that you're good at. And look at that. I don't think too many of us have the awareness to know who we really are and what we're really good at. And it takes some inner work, and it's hard. Some people it's going to be hard to do. It was hard for me. It's taken me years. It's taking me years, and I'm still a work in progress. But sit down, because each and every one of us has value that we bring to different sectors of our lives, and write down that list and look at that list. And if there's areas that you're like, how come I'm not this way? That's, I want to be this way. It doesn't mean you can't become that, right? But really look at what you bring to the world and embrace it. And I think we just don't do enough of that. And once you start understanding that and really asking the hard questions, who am I? What am I good at? It took me a long time to figure that out. And like I said, it's still a work in progress, just that act alone. And then for me, I love God's word, and I love reading self-improvement books. I love affirmations. The thing that really was tough for me is self-affirmation is very just self-sufficient. And I believe that everything I have comes from God. So I use God's word, and I have my own set of affirmations that God's word says about who I am in him. So that for me, that's helped me as well.
I think
that's a good starting point.
Yeah. Thank you. What do you think, Amy?
First and foremost, invest in yourself. I'll share a little bit about an exercise I did when I started to invest in myself, really getting to know, start that inner work journey. Sitting in a room and my coach says, write down how much money you want to make. And since our talk is truly focused on business, that's where I'm going to lead all my answers. Write down how much money you want to make. Okay, trust your unconscious mind. By what date? Okay. The first year I started working with her, almost to the exact date, when I went back and tracked my numbers, I hit that number. However, let me tell you this. This is the big deal. Write down that number. She says, okay, now close your eyes and take a deep breath. So of course I'm sitting there going, this is going to be a big one, right? I don't know, because I'm scared. I'm trying to figure out how to make this money, right? She said, what do you want? And she said, add a zero. To this day, just as I'm giving you this story, I know the number that was written on that piece of paper. I felt nauseous.
Wow.
And then she said, say it. And I couldn't.
Oh.
I couldn't say the number out loud. And then we started working together. Invest in yourself. And part of your investment is creating your goal and getting your coaches. And your coaches, there could be multiple coaches in your life.
Yes.
The rule of thumb that I've learned, 30% of your annual income should go into your personal development. And that's your coaching, your classes, what have you. It's a lot of money to some people.
Yeah.
Whether you make 100,000, okay, what is that? Just do the math. 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. Now all of a sudden, you get people going, you're crazy. You're putting that much money. Yes. Why? Because if I am nauseous at that number, I need to be very uncomfortable and moving forward and trying and doing new things for more feedback, because there's no failure, for more feedback to reach that number. That doesn't say that it's going to be easy. That doesn't say it's going to feel good along the way. Just means that it's a goal. And this is where I want to go. And if you truly, truly want to go there, it's the inner work, it's the coaches, it's the investment in yourself. It's okay to invest in you. Nobody else is going to advocate for you the way you're going to advocate for you.
Oh, yeah.
Well said. I concur with Amy too. I've had my fair share of great coaches, good coaches, more good coaches than great coaches. But like Amy says, you'll find that person.
Yeah.
When I started coaching, I remember, and even there's been conversations over the years. My husband says, "Why do you have your coach, and why do you do this when people? You train people, you teach people home loans. You've been doing this for 30 years. Why do you even think you need a coach?" Because I may be really good at what I do. There's areas that are blind spots. There's areas that I don't know. I need to learn other areas. That coach, her job is to make sure I see that. And if I don't see it, she needs to guide me to it and through it in order for me to get to that number. And we jokingly talk about the day that I cut her loose, because I'm beyond my contract period with her. And I said, oh no, you don't get fired until this day. And you know what that check needs to look like when it comes to the business side. And we laugh, and it's just a commitment. I will be showing up to my coaching meetings until I get that check. And when I get that check, then she can finally talk about either she could resign or I could fire her, however, whatever we want to do, but we're going to part ways. But that is the goal, and it's not going to end until we get to that.
I love it. Ah, that's so great.
And she'll probably hear this and she'll laugh. I'm sure this will be like the topic of discussion at our next coaching when she hears this.
Well, as we wrap up, what is the question that I have not asked you that you would like me to ask you, or that you'd like to share, either of you?
Do you want to go first?
I'm still thinking. That's a good question.
And it doesn't have to be anything, or if there's something that you want to impart to the audience.
The next step behind investing to yourself is dream big. So what would my dream be? What do I want to do? From a business perspective, I have my goals. I would love to see a nonprofit where I'm helping foster youth and I'm supporting that population, specifically those that are aging out. And I would love to see my daughter run it. Oh. She is an amazing young girl. My son is just graduated with a business degree and a minor in entrepreneurship. And he will definitely be this fabulous business owner who will contribute and market this nonprofit. My daughter, she is showing me that she'll probably be going to college for some organizational leadership in business, which is teeing me up to reach my dream, because she'll be able to run the nonprofit. And I would love to see that.
Oh,
that's in my future.
That's exciting. Congrats in advance. How about you, Rika? Last words or anything that you want to?
I would just say, we live in a society where it's like, go big or go home, all or nothing, right? So I would just say all or something. Perfection is the enemy of progress. So for those of you who are listening and, Karen's like, oh, they reached this level or whatever have you. It wasn't without a work, right?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we hear things and we're like, oh, I don't know where to start. Just start. Take one thing that you heard today, just one, and do that.
Don't believe the Facebook life, right?
Right.
It always looks pretty on Facebook. Yeah.
Well, and it's such a good example, isn't it, of all these famous people that you think, or even, take Oprah or whoever, that it seems like they have it all, and they probably do now, but we didn't see the 20 plus years before, right, or the hardship that somebody went through to get to where they are now. We just see the now. And I do think, I love that phrase when I was starting out in my business too, where people would say, don't compare your day one to someone else's day, 5,000 or whatever it is.
Right. Right.
And I think that's such a good example too, that we've got to start where we're at and simply take action. And that's just one step. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. My son's a baseball, he dreams of going to the MLB, but he doesn't want to put the work in. I'm like, what do you think they do to get, everybody wants to be a superstar, right? But they don't want to put in the work to get there. What's that old adage? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. That's pretty extreme, but that's the work that you put in, the grind. Like nobody wants to see that or do that. They just want to go here, right? They want to go high to the highest level. So,
right. Yeah. Oh, this has been so wonderful. I feel like we could talk forever about this. So why don't you start, Amy? Tell us where we can reach you, and then we'll go to Rika.
I am in Upland, California. However, I service clients nationwide. If you're looking for me on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Amy Valdivia. Pretty simple. I don't have to worry about the IB or this, that, and the underscore here. It's pretty simple. Amy Valdivia, look me up. I'm happy to connect.
Great. Thanks, Amy. How about you, Rika?
Thanks. Thank you, Karen. I really appreciate it. What a great hostess you are. Rica Ruiz. I'm with Meraki Real Estate. And I'm online too. Rica Ruiz. It's Rica, like Costa Rica, spelled the same way. Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. And Meraki is M as in Mary, E-R-A-K-I, Real Estate. So we service San Mateo and Contra Costa counties.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk with you both. And I'm so glad that you both joined today. So thanks for sharing your hearts as well as your knowledge and experience.
Thank you,
so
Karen.
much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Rika.
That's a wrap of another episode of Ignite Your Confidence. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. If you're interested in more tips and tools around confidence, please join me over in my Facebook group called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laus. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.